We're the Toberts. I'm Sue Tobert,
I'm Daren.
and we're just a couple of physicians finishing our careers up. We love medicine. We've been in practice for years. We've done some hard stuff over time, and we are at FIRE, which is a term I love. What's FIRE, huh?
So, yeah, financially independence and retire early.
I retired just a few weeks ago. Daren's got his retirement coming up. And
Mhm.
our story is we met in high school. We did med school together. We immigrated from Canada. We have had a busy life here in the Midwest, busy careers, raising family, etc. And our time with you is really about just sharing what it's like to be on the other side of the hard stuff in medicine. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we go through a lot as physicians being in training, insane hours, probably a little less insane now than they were, but still pretty insane. Immigrating, everything that took, and the stresses of that. Getting all our credentials in line and studying, and the tension and pressure of huge life-changing exams. Um, yeah, and then all the normal stuff that people have, like being married, just fostering a healthy marriage relationship, working on kids and getting them into shape to be launched. So all that stuff's pretty hard, and it's kind of cool to reflect back on it and see where we've come, and maybe help you guys to, streamline it a bit,
Yeah.
or just make it a little easier for you.
Gain perspective maybe too. And we're not saying our way is the way to do it. A lot of, I think, what we love is just the storytelling of life and
Mhm.
reflecting back and saying, hey, this is kind of, wow, what a journey.
Mhm.
And certainly mixed in all this joy and the success of careers is the suffering too, right? Inevitably, we all suffer. I think for me personally, as a mom, physician, balancing work, balancing that mom guilt, managing through pregnancy loss as a couple, that was early on in our careers, raising kids, trying to do it well. That was a lot of what, really laid heavy on my heart. How about you?
Yeah. So, being the financial guy in our family, more of a head for numbers, the pressure of that, just the pressure of making sure that you can manage things like, basics: food, shelter, clothing, transportation, all the details involved with maintaining a household financially, and then providing for the future, right? Saving for retirement,
Mhm.
and getting that all in line, and at the same time tracking everybody's passport and when it's going to expire, and credit cards and whether to use them and how, and yeah, so a lot of financial detail, a lot of financial pressure over the years. I think I've got some wisdom to share in that regard.
Yeah. I think what I have really appreciated about our relationship is how we've divided up the duties of just running the household, granted, while having busy careers. And so, Darren's definitely the personal finance dude, and I am the free spirit, and kind of that maternal nurturing figure. Not that you're not nurturing, just so you know. Three daughters. We raised three daughters. They're all launched out of the house, and just really the joys of our life. I think in reflecting back just on how medicine fit into all of this, we found a balance. I don't know how we did it. There's no secret formula where our identities were not purely medicine. And now, as we're transitioning into retirement, we're just excited about all the other opportunities at our forefront because we weren't just wholly living, breathing, and eating medicine. At times, it ate us up, right? We're both burnout survivors, been there, done that hard stuff too. But we somehow maintained sanity through it all. And so maybe there's some insight.
Yeah. So there's an element in medicine of being a physician, right? But um, it's hard to say, but it is just a job at the end of the day, and it is what you do. It's not who you are necessarily. So I think we meet a lot of physicians who that's all they have. That's what they are. And we really worry for those folks when they retire, like their lives might be a little bit meaningless otherwise once the medicine is gone. So I think we've got a lot to talk about in terms of that kind of perspective, because it takes an enormous commitment to be a physician and to be able to do our jobs. But by the same token, you can't give over your whole soul to that. So I think that'll be a fun area to explore.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking each of you is so much more than just the title of physician, clinician, healthcare provider. I mean, let's be all inclusive in this, right? It's just, it's hard stuff all around in healthcare today. Something comes to mind as you're talking about this, maybe for many in healthcare, and this is true for me, like at my basic core, I love giving and I love that nurturing piece. I love the healing piece. That doesn't always mean it has to be only done in medicine. And that can be how you show up as a parent, how you show up with your friends, how you show up with your colleagues. Heaven knows that right now, like our colleagues are suffering just in the midst of all the hard stuff in healthcare. So just how are you showing up as maybe that little bit of a healer?
Right.
Yeah. So I'm just going to toss this question out. We haven't talked about this for years, but why did you go into medicine?
Yeah. So I was always just a science guy, right? So loved science from the first time it was introduced to me back in whatever elementary school and middle school. And I just really loved science. So when it came to the end of high school, I was top grades in science and a little bit in math. And I thought, okay, I got to do something in science, but then I didn't really want to be a bench scientist. So I kind of went into pre-med with the mindset that it's a good scientific basis. I'll find something in STEM to do. They didn't call it STEM back then, but
the old days.
I wanted to get a good background in science, and pre-med had that for sure. And then, well, I'd done pre-med, so I might as well apply to medical school. So that's honestly how it was. I didn't come at it like from necessarily I gotta be a healer type of approach. I just found the science super cool.
Yeah. Yep, that's the story I've heard before. Thanks for reminding me. I loved science too, and what I loved about science was like the human body and the pathology of it. So I know that might sound a little gruesome, but studying pathology and disease was always just a real highlight for me. How can things go wrong?
Right.
And I was a good student too. And we were dating in high school. We were high school sweethearts. So it kind of seemed like, hey, let's do this together. And I think for me, I was terribly shy at that point in my life. But I liked when I connected with people, I just liked getting to know them, and I loved kids. So, that's why I think I landed in pediatrics, is to be that advocate for suffering children. But that wasn't like readily apparent right out of high school. That took time to discover, isn't that wonderful that you have your lifetime to discover what you love and figure it out? Yeah. So that was how I landed there.
Yep. And I kind of pursued the science track all along. So I wound up doing critical care. And that was kind of the decision making that I was employing was, hey, this is the coolest science. Critical care docs are the most equipped that can handle anything coming in the door. And so I just felt like to be a complete physician, you had to be able to handle anything. So again, driven by love of science, I ended up in critical care. Not necessarily the best approach for healthy life. Back then, especially, critical care was a brutal specialty. And they've improved it a lot over the years. So if you're interested in critical care, don't worry too much. I think the careers now are far more livable than what I went through. But led to eventually like burnout for me. And so that'll be an important topic to cover in our podcast.
So I know Daren's talking about like back then, we're talking like 20, 30 years ago. We've had a 30-year run in medicine. For me, it's been wonderful. You have your retirement coming up, and I think that's kind of the next chapter for us. Yeah. Is there anything that you know now that you wish you would have known back in your
Oh, so much. I mean, yeah, if you could go back to when we were just starting in medicine
Mm.
with the knowledge we have now on the other side, it would have affected enormous number of decisions
Yeah.
over our lifetime.
Mhm.
I mean, everything in all parts of our life. So yeah, I think there's just a ton. It's too much to get into. Like we would have done finance totally differently. We would have bought Bitcoin in 2010. If you knew what we knew now, we would have. I would have picked a different career. Certainly, I would have done something different within medicine that would probably fit my body better and my mind better and my personality better.
Mhm.
So there's that.
Mm.
I think we waited quite long to raise kids because of medical training. So we may have done that differently. I think because we waited a while to raise kids, we were always the oldest parents at the sports events and stuff. And
True.
so that kind of separated us from other families in a way. And I mean, there's just an enormous number of decisions that we would do differently. So
in fact, I mean, that's the reason for this podcast, right? If we have several episodes to kind of share our insights, join us.
Yeah.
And again, I'm going to say we're just sharing our perspective and our journey. And I want to be mindful about, back then, I don't know that I would have listened necessarily to
right.
advice from the elder clinician, although when I got into medicine, I really appreciated the mentorship. Like I can think of a handful of mentors, right, that we had that we love dearly nowadays. So maybe that's partly what this is about is what does mentoring look like and what one or two little tidbits might you take away, right? That's it.
Yeah. Well, what I found too was that most times older clinicians were so engaged with teaching them medicine and to bring you up to speed scientifically and clinically and medically. But gosh, it would have been helpful if some of those people had just imparted a little bit of their life experience and say, hey, how's your marriage? How's your finances? Where are you guys at? That would have been so helpful to have older clinicians do that with younger clinicians. So this is a natural lead into our podcast.
Yeah. I think that might be the golden thread, right? It's just like how to do life well. You pick and choose what you might want to try. It's all an experiment. There's no homework. It's just like try it, reassess, figure it out.
Just even like think about it this way instead of that way. Just think outside the box and maybe hopefully learn from what we've been through and the mistakes we've made along the way to maybe not make the same ones with your life. I mean, that's our goal.
And that means we're going to show up transparently. We're going to talk about some hard stuff and some fun stuff too. That's us. We're Daren and Sue.